We're going to relate our inequalities to a couple of real-world situations today. Our first one involves a woodworker who is trying to figure out how much to earn. Now, when I'm doing these, I would like to identify first the question or the information that I'm trying to figure out. So, kind of skimming through here, we can see that our task is to write and solve an inequality. And we want to represent how many hours the builder can spend. Okay, so the information that we don't know that we're trying to find is the number of hours that this cabinet worker worked. When I figure that out, I'm going to write down a variable so I don't forget that information. So H for hours is going to represent the hours spent working. All right, now I will be able to tell when I'm finished because I'll have some values for H. Now, let's look through the rest of the question and see if we can relate this information to our hours spent working. So the woodworker wants to earn at least $25 per hour making and selling cabinets. He pays $125 for materials, and we are also given this picture that shows us the cost of the cabinet that he is making. So, how can we relate hourly wage to the hours? Well, let's start to organize our thoughts in an inequality, and then we can see if we can figure out how to calculate those things using our H, the hours spent working. So I know that our hourly wage must be at least 25. So at least is a phrase that means that's the lowest that it can go. We're okay if it's more than that. We're okay if it's equal to that, but we don't want to go below that. So the symbol that we're going to use for this hourly wage is greater than, because we would like that to be more, or equal to 25. Now our next task is to figure out how to calculate this hourly wage. When we're calculating a wage, that is in dollars per hour, and the word per means division. So if I can figure out how much money we make, and I divide that by the number of hours, we can figure out our hourly wage. Now let's take the information and figure out what our profit is. We know that the cabinet cost $500 from the picture. So that would be 500. But we also know that we spent $125 for materials, so that is going to take away from our total profit. So we have 500 minus the 125. That is the amount of money that the cabinet maker will make when they are finished. And per hour, so per means we're going to divide by the number of hours, which we called H. So we have now successfully related our number of hours to the hourly wage right here. When we solve this, we'll be able to find some possible solutions and graph it. Now H is in our denominator. Let's get it out. So we're going to multiply by H. Multiply the other side by H. That gives us 500 minus 125 needs to be greater than or equal to 25H. When we combine those two together, 500 minus 125 gives us 375. We need that to be greater than or equal to 25H, and we'll finish this out by dividing by 25. So we get 375 divided by 25, which gives us 15. All right, so our number of hours is the smaller number, and so the hours can be less than or equal to 15. You could write this in this way as well. Hours is less than or equal to 15. Okay, now some people might think about this slightly differently. I'm going to go back to this original question right here. A lot of the time people like to think about this 125 as part of expenses and the hourly as part of the expenses, and so they'll kind of end up with a thought like this, where your expenses, or the 25 times the H plus the 125, needs to be less than or equal to that 500. That would mean that your hourly rate would end up being higher than $25 per hour. So we could kind of get that by rearranging this. My personal preference is to kind of think of it this way, but I've seen some people have some really great success with this method as well. It doesn't matter, we'll end up solving and getting the same thing either way. So we're done with that. We know that we can work for 15 or fewer hours and successfully accomplish what we want. Let's move on to the next one over here. In this question, we're working with a rectangle, and we want to calculate the area of a rectangle. Now, our task is to make the area of this rectangle greater than 60 square feet. And we're given this side over here with a value of x that is unknown at this point. So we're to write and solve an inequality that represents the possible values here for x. If we make this bigger or smaller, it's going to affect the length of this side and therefore affect the area. So we know that the area of a rectangle is length times width, and we're given some values for length and width. We have this 12 here. I'm going to use that for the length, so we get 12 times, and we'll use this for our width, 2x minus 3. Okay, symbol needs to be changed right here, because that's what our area equals. We need that area to be greater than 60. So we need this to be greater than 60, sorry. Let's reset right here. This is our area. We need that 12 times 2x minus 3 to be greater than 60. And so at this point, we're going to introduce that inequality symbol. So this represents our area, and our area needs to be greater than 60. When we solve this, we can distribute. That'll give us 24x. 12 times negative 3 gives us negative 36. We need that to be greater than 60. Add that 36 to both sides. We get 24x is greater than 96. Finish out by dividing by 24 here, and we get x is greater than 4. All right, and that would give us a length and a width that would give us an area greater than 60. Thank you very much.